Okay, so moving right along, let's talk some BatBooks. Okay, so the next items that I've pulled out that have to go down here that get to stay in the collection, at least I'm pretty sure all of these are going to stay in the collection. First off, these stay in the collection. These are hardback books, and they are, to me, the most interesting villain added to Batman canon in years. Look, like, in my lifetime, I've seen certain characters revolutionized, like Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze was not a good character, guys. He was awful. He was stupid. But the animated series did such a wonderful job with his redesign. And I'm not talking about just the way he looks. Him, as a character, got redesigned. And it worked fantastically. So fantastically, in fact, that's the way that we see Mr. Freeze nowadays. Because we allowed the character to change and evolve. And I've talked about this before, multiple times, and I've posted it on Fandom with ReploidBill on the Facebook group page and things like that. Either let the characters evolve, or let them die. And sorry, it's just the way that it is. And I realize that sometimes change is extraordinarily harsh, to the point where the character doesn't even recognize, like, you can't even recognize the original creation. Look at Mr. Freeze. For everybody that accepts Mr. Freeze, if you put both Mr. Freezes in a room today, you wouldn't recognize the two of them. You'd think they were two different characters. And Clayface is the same way. These are characters that needed harsh evolution, full dramatic change from the character that they were in order to become the characters that they are. And I've seen that in my lifetime. Characters that are reimagined. But this was a new villain. And it was a good one. As far as I am concerned, the Talons and the Court of Owls are astonishing. They are a magnificent new addition to Batman lore. And quite frankly, it is what made me read the New 52. I know people come down on the New 52. I know it. I get it. They hate it. I don't give a fuck. There were certain things done in the New 52 that cannot be ignored. Hate all you want, but open your eyes. The Court of Owls is magnificent storytelling. And the way that this book works, like when he loses his mind and you actually lose your mind with him and you have to turn the pages in the comic to one point where you're upside down and basically right side up and inside out, and like the mind-losing part of this and the white rooms and all the little intricate details and things like that are put in that address you as you're reading, that make it a comic book experience that you recall. Look, we recall moments from comic books, not the experience of reading a comic book. That is a huge deal. That was in the New 52. Guys, there were great things in the New 52. There were awful things in the New 52. But come on, there are awful things in comics right now. Right now! And there were awful things in the comics back in the Golden Age. And in the Silver Age, are you kidding me? I had a comic book once where this bad guy created a gun and he shot Superman, and it made Superman super hungry, so he couldn't stop crime because he was like eating hamburgers. Come on, guys. Come the fuck on. Not all the greatest comic book ideas were in the past. Chances are that because of the way the industry is and because of this being such a massive thing, comic books has gone on and on and on and on and on for years. Yes, there is literally a 90% chance that your favorite things happened in the past of comic books. They did, because that's the nature of something this big. There is a 90% chance that your favorite Star Trek moments and characters came from before, because there's 40-something years. To tell somebody that they can only appreciate the new shit is ridiculous. That's not what I'm telling you to do here. Because if that was a true statement, then nobody anywhere for any reason should like anything that is old. You can't like Led Zeppelin. It's yesterday's shit. Stupid. It's just fucking stupid. Who cares? Music is one of those things that helps us realize that this is a truth, that there is new shit coming out all the time, and it is inspired by older stuff, and that older stuff does still hold weight. There is still merit there, but don't pretend like the new shit isn't there, that it isn't happening, that it isn't good, because there are good things happening. Like in the New 52. One of my favorite things that they did in the New 52 was this. This stays 100%. That stays. That stays. That stays. This stays. And this stays. That's all the New 52 Batgirl that I have. And I love it. This brought Barbara Gordon back and made her important again in a way that she hadn't been. She was a field agent again. Now, I get it. Don't misunderstand. Because I've had conversations with a buddy of mine, and it makes a lot of sense that they took something away from the comic book community when they did this to Barbara. When they put her back on the field, and they took away the wheelchair, it took something away from the representation of a certain group of people. And that's noticeable. And it's worth calling out. Yes. Oracle was a fantastic character, and it was a fantastic statement to have made that sometimes characters come on hard times. Just like you, as a person in life, will come on hard times. And it is in those hard times what we choose to do that makes us the kind of people that we choose to be. She didn't lay down and die. She picked herself up and she continued on. And she did everything that she originally had the powers to do, but she did it in a different way. She lost one ability to fight and chose another. Tragedy befalls us. And she was one of those things that taught us that we can pick ourselves back up. We may not get back to exactly the same place that we were, but we can pick ourselves up. And in that moment, what we choose to be, what we choose to become is vitally important. And she chose to become Oracle, and that's awesome. That's completely awesome. But, just like comic books do, they circle back. And they go back to basics. And the basics of the situation is that Barbara Gordon is Batgirl. So, we circled back. And we took her out of the chair with an experimental surgery that gave her her legs back. But what is really interesting about this run of books is that it does not take away the idea that Oracle happened. It's a whole different kind of struggle to have lived her life in both of these manners now, as Batgirl and as Oracle. And to go back to being Batgirl is a challenge that quite literally terrifies her. She is scared. to gain this much, to get this much back, and to always have that lingering possibility that she could lose it all again. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. And it does speak to another idea in comic books is like this. When these kinds of dramatic stories are told correctly, we can learn from them. And there is something terrifying about constantly building yourself up. And this is in all different kinds of life. Think about this. It is terrifying to get that good job, to take a chance on another job, for that job to blow up in your face, for you to no longer have the original job you had. And then if the opportunity comes back around and you get that job again and you start working back up and now you're making the proper money that you were hoping for, but then another chance comes along and you may very well need to question, do I take that chance again? Because it blew up in my face pretty hard. Well, it did. It blew up in her face pretty hard, and that's why Oracle happened. Then, she's given the chance to go back to being the same person she was, and she needs to really watch what she does during that time, and it is scary. And there's a lot of personal development in these stories that really helps to push Barbara Gordon to a place that made her an exceptional character. Only for them to shit all over it. Because I know what else the New 52 did with Barbara Gordon. And I'm sorry if that's your favorite version of her. But she went from this, and it was exceptionally interesting, to like running around with a cell phone and doing selfies and all of a sudden her book was like this weird, I don't even know how to explain it. Like when Rebirth happened and she continued on in that purple suit and her books were almost like a weird fallback to the 1960s again. I didn't like that. I left Batgirl. I left it. I'm back in Batgirl now because I'm really liking what they're doing. But this is interesting. It is a drive of a character that has changed many different times. And sometimes I like it, and sometimes I don't. This was one of my absolute peaks in terms of Barbara Gordon and in terms of Batgirl. This is unbelievably deserving of staying in the collection. And now for the last one. This is something we never thought would happen. Every now and then a book comes along that gives us a premise that absolutely should not work. Shouldn't work. Should be too stupid. But damn it, if it fucking works all too well. All too well. If you haven't checked this out, check this out. Okay. And now we have added these BatBooks back into the collection. Get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.